Hello guys and welcome back. So today we're gonna continue with section 4 of the video series on Helm chart, okay, where we are learning how to customize our Helm chart. So so let's just continue, right? So I think I'm quite a little bit okay with this, but there's something still remaining because usually uh when you push your when you deploy your containers, you want to make sure that they are using appropriate resources. Okay, so here I'm going to use resources for example, and as you can see, this is always how it presents itself. Okay, so we have resources, and then here we have the limit and then the request. Okay, what you can initially request and what is your limit over that request. All right, so what you cannot go above. So if you go above that, then you have out of memory kill, for example, OM, is it OK or OMK, something like that. That's the error message. Okay, I will leave whatever it shows here by default, but I will do something like this, copy that, okay, and then here, so it's under pod spec, right? So under pod spec or container spec, yeah, container spec. So on the container spec, all right. So we will align that with the other its siblings. Okay, we will align that with its siblings. All right. So now here, what we will do is just to, for example, introduce another one. For example, range. Okay, range. So how do you use range, for example, to make sure that you have everything that is that you want, for example? So here I have resources, all right, and how do I pass my data that are here into here? So basically you can delete this, for example. Okay, so you can start even from here and put that here. Don't put that anymore, please. So we can say a range, for example. All right, and then we say $sign. I hate this thing, seriously. Uh, but I don't know what is this kind is. Okay, so maybe it's checking on something like the keyword. Okay, yeah, keyword. I didn't know this. Okay, yeah, so it checks for something and then does something. But for us, we're gonna just say range. Okay, so for the range, we want to have the key that are on the left and the values that are on the right. Okay, so this means that we will have something that looks like this. So basically, rearrange, the way you do that is an iterator. That can be, for example, if you are using bash shell scripting, the for loop, okay, or maybe on Python as well. So here you can say for, like, for example, replace that by for, and then these are like variables, okay, and this is the same way we declare variables in Go language, for example. So here we say that we are aware that we have within this resource we have keys, okay, and values. So this is a key, for example, and these are values, but within inside is going to range again and then see that there are other keys and values. So now here we pass that, and then here it checks for something, return true if the value is kind, okay. So if the value here is kind, so if the value that retrieved is a map, then it's going to do something, but I'm not really aware of that. Okay, and I'm going to remove that for now. And because we have two range, we have if and range, that's why we have two of this. So I'm going to leave it like this. Now you will see that we have a YAML. Okay, I believe we can also do like this. So to YAML, and then we have the values here. Alright, so basically we are iterating, and then these are the key. Okay, and within that key we have the YAML format that we can drop there. So it's going to go with the first one. Alright, do the to YAML for that one, and then the second one, which is the request, and then do the to YAML for that other ones as well, and then we'll indent by 12 so that we can have the right format. So now if we do something like this, because I put some of this stuff, okay, just to remove that. So let me come back here and remove this. So that's why we have that everywhere. So just go ahead and remove whatever we have there. So now we are left with something very simple. Okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead and try that again. So if I do this, you will now see that I have the resource. Okay, resources, and on the resources I have limits, the CPU. Okay, so this is the first key. All right, so if I was to do this, so from the range, key and values. Okay, so here we are treating values as the YAML. Okay, and the key as this because it's a map. Okay, so this becomes the key, and then the data that are inside become the values. So we are accessing the key, and then we put column. Okay, to respect the column after each of those guys, and then we put the values. Okay, to YAML for the values, and then we drop that. So that's what makes it can look like this. Okay, so that's what we have here, that is put like this. So far so good. Now let's definitely go with something else. Okay, so let's go with something called service. Let's deal with that service once and for all. So here I have the, so let me close this. I have the values file here. Okay, I have the service, and I want to be able to pass whatever I have from this service spec into this one. Okay, that I took on. So but I see that I have some stuff that I'm missing. For example, annotation. Oops. For example, annotation. Okay, annotation that we know how it was, and then we have label, for example, that's missing, and we have the namespace. Okay, so it wasn't having those. We already know how to use this, and we know why we are using it like this, right? We know why. So now we're gonna come here, and then for the name, we know that we are using some kind of conventional name here, where we have these, then the target environment, the target environment, and then the resource type that we are accessing. So here for the name, so I'm going to replace this, but deploy will be replaced by SVC. Okay, now if I come here, I have spec, I have selectors, and if we know that selector is based on label. Okay, selectors is based on label, so it's going to select the label from the pod, from the pod. So we know that for the label, okay, it's something like this. Okay, but we're going to see how many indentation we really need. So if I was to come here and put it like this, and let's see how many indentation. Okay, so 1 2 3 4. So you don't really need 8, so you just need 4. All right, so now that is good. Here we have port, okay, and then we have the type. So we want to conditionally render if we have to deploy, create a service or a port. And if we create a set or a node port, so if we create a node port, then we have a node port number here, okay, and here we have the and here this one is small n, sorry. Okay, so then we have a node port here, okay, which is the port number on the node. And then for if we have a load balancer, we have the type as load balancer, and so on. So that's why we have what we call booleans here. Okay, so we have booleans that accompany those blocks. So here, for example, I can come here and say, seriously, but that you did not guess my next name this time. Okay, or you did. No, you did not. You really did not. So I will say if. Nope, I don't need that one anymore. I learned my lesson. I'm not gonna do a combination. So if dot values dot service dot node port enable, okay, then what do we need to do? We can say that we have node port, okay, that will be added to this. Okay, we will come back to this one, but it will be added to this section here. So if we have node port, then we have this, all right, and then we finish there. So if again we have node port, this is where we define the type for that. Then we have that type. I'm just trying to synchronize with the AI. So we have the type that goes to, anyway, we'll explain later on. Okay, and then else if is a load balancer. Then we have this, and at the end we have what? Nothing else, right? Nothing else. I don't know why he wants to continue, but myself, I'm already good here. No, end, sorry. And yeah. Alright, so let's try to understand what's going on here. Okay, but before we go there, we have the target port. So the target port is either the name that is on the container is on the port section here, where you can get the name, alright, or you can get the port number itself, alright. So if you want, we can still use this one, but I will just stick with this one for now. Alright, so the target port will keep it aligned with what if the target port number change, then somebody wants to use our custom template, okay, he can adapt it to his own and then just change the target port to the application port number that he is using. So now we have replaced that one. So here we have the port, which is the port of the service at the front end. Okay, the target port is the port of the container at the back end, which is inside the deployment. So then we have the protocol. So here, okay, here what is happening? So here we are conditionally rendering because we have a node port, and there is, yeah, so we have a node port. Okay, so here we are checking if the node port, okay, if value spec service spec dot node port dot enable. So if value service spec dot node port, okay, dot value dot service spec dot node port dot enable, okay, which is this. So if that is enabled, then we're going to use the service spec, the value service spec node port and port number, okay, node port right here, okay. That's what we have there. Hold on. Okay, yeah, no problem. It's because there's the same. So okay, yeah, it's because we have it twice, okay, from this here and from this here. So that's what we put it twice. Then we end there because that's the condition that we wanted to check, okay. If we have that, then we do this, okay. Then because this block is not a sibling of the child element of port, it is a sibling of port itself, okay, the type here. So we are checking now with the if at this position here where it is aligned here, okay. So if the value dot service spec dot node port dot enable, okay, again we check that. So if that is enabled, then the type here, okay, so the type there should be so then the type should be value dot service spec dot node port dot type, as you can see here, okay. And then else if, so otherwise, okay, what do we check? So otherwise if the value dot spec dot load balancer dot enable, all right, then we will take service value service spec load balancer dot what dot dot type, okay, for the load balancer, and then we have it there. Now if you want, we can say that the service for the port is this, so it means that we don't need to go like this, we just go like this, and we take this value dot spec service spec dot port, okay. And if we have a name that we want to give to that as well, so we can say here name, then we take that name from here and we can put the service port, that service port number on it, all right. So it looks like we are quite done with all this and we are ready to go. So we learned a lot here. Let's just try to deploy this and see what happened, okay. So now if I do Helm template, okay, we don't have any error, which is a good sign. And here you can see that we have the source template as service, okay, the YAML. Then we have the annotations that came as well. Then we have the label that also came there, all right. Then we have the namespace, which is nice. We have the name, okay, which is my first MonLabo.stg.svc. But I know the naming convention is not really good, all right. I know that. Then we have spec, okay, selector again. So that's the selector for the application that will be that will be running of the container, okay. For the label of the container, the port, sorry, so the port POD. So then we have the ports here. So this is where we see if our if statement is working, okay. So as we can see here, what did we say? We say that if the service spec node port is enabled, which is quite true, okay, and for the load balancer is false, so it means that we should not even care about the load balancer anymore. We should only care about this guy, okay. So as you can see here, it was the node port that was set, that was chosen, and the type has been chosen as node port as well, okay. Then the target port number, which corresponds to what is coming from the container, okay. and then the service port number is the service port number that we define here, and then we have the protocol and the name as well. So shall we push that to the cluster? You're probably asking. So let's try to see if we can do an upgrade. So I will do upgrade, and then so we do helm upgrade dash dash install my app dot this. What does it say? Release number 3. Okay, so my app has been upgraded. Happy Helm, and it has been upgraded with some information. So now I can come here and do something like do here. Yeah, so you can do. So earlier we didn't have any service, but if we now do Helm service, Helm status, Helm status dash dash show resources. Okay, so we should see that we have all these. So we have port here, we have the service, we have the deployment. So the service is running as a node port, okay, with the node port number that we decided, and then we have the deployment here. So it's now my app, MonLabo, Linux, dev, and then deploy. So it means that it's only one container, one port that is there because it's the dev environment. You remember that we define some stuff like some condition on the number of port per environment that you should create. So if we were to use dash dash set, for example, and put prod or stg, we will see that we have new data that are I mean we have something different. Okay, so I think I heard someone who said something like, hey, can you try with load balancer and see what we got? Yeah, we can try with load balancer. Alright, so if we do Helm template, but now we will say load balancer, so it means that we do, for example, so we can do that from here. Okay, dash dash set, and then you know that it comes from service. Okay, service dot, and then from where load balancer dot, oops, that's not good, what's going on here, dot enable. Okay, and the value will be true. Alright, so if we do this, you should see that now, oops, looks like I was not able to fetch the right one, so it came back with no port again. So let's see if we can fix that. Let me do that directly from here. I'm not sure what if I call the right path. So I will say, oh, it's because it's true. The first one is true, and the second one is true as well. So that's why it went with the first one immediately. So we just say false here. Sorry about that. Alright, so now if we disable the node port, okay, and we enable the load balancer. So now we should have load balancer here, as you can see. So now you have load balancer and everything is working as designed. So but I'm probably sure you're like, okay, can we check if the port number is if there's that deployment is going, I mean, is that accessible through the web browser? Yeah, we can try that, but we have to do port forward. Okay, so and for that I have to do that from the server where the UI is working. Okay, because I cannot do that from my machine there. So I have to do that from here. And okay, all right. So we'll open the browser in advance. I want to open the browser, so it is Brave, for example. And in the meantime, I will do um, status just to be sure. Oops. Didn't do that one. Yeah, so it was called my app. Yeah, so that's the one. So we can take the service that show, or you can say kubectl something. Anyway, let's just say the show service, show resources. Okay, and here we can see that we have the service here. So this is the service. Okay, so we're gonna do port forward on that service. Okay, so we're gonna do this minikube. There is another one, another command with minikube. You can see how to expose a node pod. You can see how to expose a load balancer with minikube. Okay, so for example, if you were to come here on your browser, you click, you say minikube. Minikube expose service, for example. So you can come here and go to this, and here you can see the representation for this too. Okay, so where you can do service URL, minikube service URL, and then example of node port here. So you do that, alright, then do this minikube service URL, and it will provide you a URL where you can go and check if everything is working for you. So let's go and do that here. So if you do minikube, what was that again? Sorry, that was service. Yeah, service almost. So minikube service, and then you put the service and then dash URL. Okay, and as you can see, it provided us with this. Alright, so let's just copy that. Let's just copy that. Copy, go to Brave, and we can see that we have access to engines. So if you like what you see, please consider doing something that is really helping this channel to keep growing. We like to see you liking, comment, share, and also do whatever you want. Please help this channel. Okay, bye bye, take care.